We had this event started at about 3:15. It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now.
In downtown New Orleans, where New Orleans police are on the scene of what's being described as a major incident in the French Quarter on Bourbon Street. Multiple reports right now of potentially multiple casualties after authorities say a vehicle plowed into a group of people. Happened a couple hours ago. Our newsroom working to get details. Our Winston Reed live right now at Canal and Baronne with the very latest. Winston, we see a lot of police cars and a lot of people. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, there's well over 50 NOPD vehicles out here. We've also seen ambulance vehicles as well as the Orleans Parish Coroner out here arriving on Canal Street. We were told that there have been reports of multiple people being struck by a vehicle in the French Quarter area, possibly near Bourbon Street. I was able to walk near Bourbon Street, and much of Bourbon Street is now blocked off, and many bars and restaurants on Bourbon Street also had to be evacuated following what one person tells me is one big investigation. We also heard reports of multiple gunshots being fired. We're working to confirm a lot of this information, but one thing I did see while walking through the French Quarter and surveying the area, I've seen many people very emotional and in tears and crying, kind of describing, you know, in conversation amongst each other what may have happened. Again, I've been told from witness accounts that there was someone who struck multiple people in the French Quarter area. I also have heard reports of gunshots as well. We haven't had a chance to get official confirmation from NOPD, but you're looking at the scene here on Canal Street following New Year's Eve celebrations, and you're seeing well over, again, 50 NOPD police cars. We've seen the Orleans Parish Coroner arrive here on Canal Street. That could be an indication of possible fatalities that have taken place in the French Quarter, but of course we're working to get that confirmation right now. Also, LSP is on scene as well. They are here with a staging area as well on Canal Street. We're seeing a lot of people flood onto Canal. You may see a lot of people walking. That's because, again, a lot of restaurants and bars on Bourbon Street had to be evacuated. A lot of the business owners did remove all the patrons out of their bars and out of their businesses at the time.
Right now we're going to go out to an ABC News special report on this investigation into the driver that plowed into the crowd.
Pickup truck through a crowd on Bourbon Street, killing 10 people and injuring dozens. They say the driver then came out of the truck and opened fire on officers, injuring 2 before being shot and killed. The FBI says improvised devices were also discovered in and around the scene of the attack, and those devices are now being tested. The White House also says President Biden has been briefed on the attack and has been in touch with the mayor of New Orleans. I want to bring in our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky. Aaron, what's the latest of the timeline of how this all unfolded?
This was at about 3:15 a.m. local time. There was still a crowd on Bourbon Street, a mix of tourists and local residents, when the white pickup truck turned from Canal Street onto Bourbon Street, was able to get around barriers meant to prevent a vehicle ramming attack, accelerated and very, very fast, plowed into this crowd of pedestrians, killing at least 10, injuring roughly 3 dozen. Initially, police responded to the first call for an active shooter because there were gunshots. When the suspect exited the vehicle, he shot at responding New Orleans police officers. 2 officers were struck by gunfire, taken to the hospital in stable condition. In addition, improvised devices were found at the scene. The authorities have since tested them and determined that at least one of them appeared to be a viable device. So it adds a degree of complexity to this evolving situation. Right now, police are scanning the French Quarter using drones, cameras, and other technology to see if there are any additional possible devices. The ones they have found are currently being destroyed.
ESPN reporter Laura Rutledge, who's been speaking to the teams. The Sugar Bowl has now been postponed. Laura, what are you hearing from the teams and the reaction to this game being moved?
Yeah, well, certainly a football game pales in comparison to the importance of the tragedy that we're talking about here. But it is an element of this conversation as we look to see what the next steps will be.
Investigators have homed in on. His name is Shamsud Din Jabbar, 42 years old, a U.S. citizen, resident of Texas. There are previous criminal record, including theft and driving with a suspended license. So we're starting to piece together the profile of the man who carried out this attack at this time. So chilling. It does appear that this person took some time to prepare for this, prepared the vehicle. It looks like there was a flag. Investigators are saying they're investigating whether it's an ISIS flag or possibly another terror group, foreign terror group's flag.
Did this vehicle belong to the suspect?
It seems that the vehicle was obtained through like a ride-share app program in Texas, so it was like a rented vehicle.
The subject has been identified as 42-year-old Shamsud Din Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. He was driving a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be rented, and we are working to confirm how the subject came in possession of this vehicle. An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle, and the FBI is working to determine the subject's potential associations and affiliations with terrorist organizations. Weapons and potential improvised explosive devices, IEDs, were located in the subject's vehicle. Other potential IEDs were also located in the French Quarter. As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe. We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates.
In advance, we can also report that Jabbar is a United States citizen originally born in Texas.
We have some major news. Earlier today, Donald Trump put out an awful statement about the tragedy that took place in New Orleans this morning. Genuinely insane. He said, quote, "When I said that the criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media. But it turned out to be true. The crime rate is at a level that nobody has ever seen. Our hearts are with the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. The Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil." Donald Trump is trying to blame this tragedy on immigrants. The perpetrator was a U.S. citizen who lived in Texas and served in our military for 10 years. What is wrong with this guy? Every single opportunity they get, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans go after a vulnerable group. Trump is the president-elect, and he's putting out a statement like this, with no confirmation from law enforcement officials, no evidence, no information whatsoever. It's irresponsible and it's dangerous. Everybody, Democrat, Republican, Independent, should condemn Donald Trump for this.
Here's an update to breaking news happening in New Orleans right now. Really a tragedy unfolding, a car plowing into a crowd of people, 10 people losing their lives, dozens of people injured. Apparently the suspect in that vehicle at some point fired on police officers. A couple of officers were hit. They were also taken to the hospital. We just heard from FBI New Orleans, who said this is not a terrorist event. We also heard from police officials in New Orleans basically saying they're going through the demographics of the victims. They believe right now that many of the victims were locals. Now,
I'm not going to comment till I speak to the group later. I've spoken to every member of the agency, from the CIA to our national security team, to our FBI, NSC, and we're gathering all the, and I spent a lot of time with the government, with the mayor.
What was your reaction when you heard what happened?
Well, the reaction was one of anger and frustration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.